Hello everyone and welcome to another exciting episode of Geeks Not Nerds, the podcast. I'm Captain Logan.
And I'm Vince.
Vince, today's question comes from Deadpool Joker.
Wait, which one?
Which one what?
Deadpool or Joker?
No, both. Neither. Deadpool Joker. Different thing.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Which one?
Anyway, a person who on YouTube calls himself Deadpool Joker asks, do we think that continuity in comics alienates potential new readers? That's the question. I think it's a great question.
Yeah.
So, Vince, why don't you start? Why don't you just give your immediate gut reaction to that question?
My immediate reaction is yes, but I'm leaning towards a potentially. Reason being is that I think things can be made within continuity, and I think that is okay. I don't think that things really need to deviate that far from continuity. I'm going to say ultimately yes, given all the events that happen, considering that we have a continuity and we have an event, we need to consider what things are going on right now. And that becomes a problem for new readers, because they don't want to have to jump into a comic book and suddenly be reading 6 different titles to figure out what Shadowland or what Final Crisis is all about.
Yeah, I mean, they might be like, I've always been like half interested in Batman. Maybe I'll read a Batman book. Man, I would feel bad for anybody who did that right now.
Yeah.
With Grant Morrison, you'd have no idea what was going on. Heck, when I jumped into R.I.P. Last year, I didn't know what was going on, and I used to read Batman, so...
Now, I heard from somebody at one point that the mantra of comic book fans is that hold in there, it'll get better. I don't buy that.
Yeah, well, maybe not it'll get better, but if you hold on long enough, at some point, something will click in where you'll understand enough of what's going on. You know what I mean? If a certain storyline passes on, like, you read part of it, you didn't entirely get what was going on, but then it comes to a new storyline, which is kind of coming out of the ashes of that, and is like calling back to it a little bit. So then you're like, okay, well, I read that, so now I sort of have at least some sort of foundation. But I think a lot of people probably leave before that happens.
I think as long as you can summarize a plot synopsis for the continuity, it's like, this is what came before it, and that's what you need to know for this story.
Yeah.
Then I think we're okay.
Yeah, and a lot of books are doing that. Are you talking about like in the front cover?
Yeah.
It has a couple paragraphs that are like, here's what's been going on if you haven't been keeping up. Yeah.
I mean, it's like Star Wars Episode 1. They have this scroll that goes across the screen, then you're caught up to speed. Mm-hmm. And you can start in the middle of things. Yeah. I mean...
But it doesn't always work, because you will get callbacks to things that obviously can't be mentioned in that little short thing that might be important, might be relevant. And you might have like a big reveal of something that is not a reveal to a person who might not be familiar with, because a lot of times in comics your reveals are a character. You get to an end and it reveals, oh, this person is really this person, or this person was behind these things, or yada yada. And if you say get to the well, I don't want to give that away. If you...
there was some
story. I'm sorry. I was thinking of a recent issue I read. I'm not going to give that away, but...
There was some story I read...
If you don't know who it is, then you don't care.
Mid to early 90s. I was reading some comic book, and it was an Avengers thing, and Captain America and Hawkeye were trying to defeat some sort of mystical force, and then suddenly somebody came out of the woodworks, and it was... I forgot Doctor Strange's name. And it was Doctor Strange, and he was suddenly the one helping them. He's like, I've been helping you guys along the entire time. And he's like, you just didn't know it, and I just now decided to make my appearance. That bothers me. Like, we have no idea. And it wasn't, during the issue, there wasn't really a mystical force helping them. It's just suddenly Doctor Strange shows up, and he's the one who fixes everything. Personally, I think a story should be self-contained, and a reveal is annoying to me. Because if it reveals something that's not diegetic to the story. I don't even know if that's the right word. But if it's not integral to the story, then it's random. And it's shoved in there for comic book fans to geek out over. But Vince, my God, he's in this.
But Vince, I think we're seeing a lot more of that now than we ever have before. And what butts me about it as far as the industry is concerned is that I'm not sure why... and I'm thinking Marvel more than DC right now. I know I've been dogging a lot of Marvel lately, but this is one of those things that they do, but DC does it too. So I'm trying to be fair. But this is something that Marvel especially does, and I'm thinking especially of the current Avengers book, which I really love. But I mean, I'm a fan of Marvel, and I know a lot of older I know some older Marvel stuff. And so when they do a big reveal like that, and it's somebody I know, and admittedly sometimes they'll do something and I won't know it, but like that book seems to be very catered to the fans. You know what I mean? It's like this is for the people who really know and love Marvel, because there's a lot of time twisty stuff and all that kind of stuff going on. But anyway, this is something they do that I think is weird, and I'm not sure it makes good business sense. Where it's like, we're doing all this big fan service to keep the readers we already have, but how does that get you new ones?
I think the real question here is do new readers really care? Because
do they care about what?
Do they care about the continuity? Do they care about the actual plot going on, or do they just want to see some stuff that's cool?
I think it depends on the individual.
It does.
It does. I mean, I think I could see somebody who isn't into comics knowing comic book fans and being like, wanting to get wrapped up in the continuity. Mm-hmm. And then and then they'll read everything about stuff, and then they'll try to get caught up and that kind of thing. But then there might be somebody else who just wants to be able to read Spider-Man and not have to think about the rest of the continuity. And frankly, I wouldn't be surprised if there weren't people who might consider getting into a book and it not even occur to them that there is this giant continuity among all these characters, and then when they find it out, then it scares them off.
Mm-hmm. I think Geekvolution, Captain Logan specifically, has gotten a handful of emails from people where they're saying, Captain Logan, can you tell me where I can jump on at this particular stage?
I get that a lot.
And then, Cap responds and says, hey, this is a good idea. But it takes some thinking. It takes somewhere to... Because these are people who obviously, they're not turned off by the medium, which is a good thing.
Right.
Because there's a lot of people out there who think comic books, that's a particular type of genre. No, that's a medium. I mean, no, you're different, artistic such and such. A comic book is to a movie is to a book.
It's been a recurring theme on the show lately, hasn't it?
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
It saddens me when I have conversations with people who are like, if I were to read a comic book, I wouldn't like it. Well, how do you know that? Mm-hmm. Because a comic book is something entirely different from what you may be thinking it is.
Yeah, that would be like saying if I watched a movie, I wouldn't like it.
Yeah, it's like, I read books, I don't like movies. Like, really? I find that questionable.
Yeah,
but
I can see that.
But where was I going with this?
I think you were talking about people who ask us about comics.
I think those people are calling in. That'd be awesome if we had a call-in show.
We should have a call-in show.
We need to be on TV or radio for something like that. But so anyway, those people are obviously people who care about whether or not they're going to be bogged down by continuity. But I think there is a good number of people that when they watch movies or read comic books or read novels, what they're really looking for is that roller coaster effect. They want something that's going to take them around the curves and suck them into the action, mm-hmm. and not necessarily something that's going to be character-driven or hoo-da-ha.
Yeah, and that's why they're asking, where can I jump in on this? Mm-hmm. Because they want to know where it gets good.
That could be true, too. I mean, I'd like to think that people are asking where can they jump in on so that they can get a good, cohesive, straightforward story.
Oh, sure, yeah. Right, but, that too. Right, of course. But like, I get Spawn questions. Mm-hmm. Where people are like, because I often talk about how it's good in places and it's not good in other places, and there's places where it just totally falls apart, and so then people are like, well, I'm interested, but like, do I start at the beginning? Is that where it's bad? Do I jump in the middle? Luckily, that's a book where the good stuff really is toward the beginning. But there are other places where that's not exactly the case. Case in point, and again, like, I don't mean to always talk about the same things, but I think that but it's one of those things where we've got certain
there's like
models.
Stable examples.
Yeah, there's stable examples. Yeah, okay, so No Man's Land. Don't start with Cataclysm. It's boring.
Yeah, I started with Cataclysm. It was boring.
I mean, there's some cool stuff in Cataclysm, but you don't need it because you know what you need to know when No Man's Land starts? There was an earthquake. You know what it tells you as soon as No Man's Land starts? There was an earthquake.
You know what Cataclysm is about?
There's an earthquake. Yeah, you don't need you don't need that. I mean, that's all you need. And they will tell you it will tell you in the first issue of the first trade of No Man's Land. So there was an earthquake, and the government cut off Gotham from the rest of America. Enter first characters. You know what I mean? Like,
and and that's a story that, well, sort of. If you just read No Man's Land, you're not going to get the full story. If you get all the trades, or if you get the novel, you're solid.
Yeah, that's right.
But that's a good example, and I think All-Star Superman does this, where you just start right in the middle of things. And I find that beautiful, when you can watch a movie or read a comic book or something where you do not need to go and get all the backstory because it's right there in the story. Either you know everything you need to know from the get-go, or you can get it as you get through.
I wonder if other things turn off new readers other than just continuity. I wonder if, let's say there were an alternate dimension in which there were as many books as there are, or at least a lot of different comic books that didn't all cross over into each other in between, within DC and within Marvel. And let's say there were just a whole bunch of different books, and they all had different characters, but they didn't necessarily cross over. I always kind of wonder if just the sheer amount of stuff is enough to kind of turn off readers. They're not sure what to look at. It looks kind of gimmicky because there's so much of it, especially within one genre. Because that much superhero. Why is there that much? You know what I mean? And like,
that's a good question.
I can see a person kind of wondering about that. Or 6 Bat books. Okay, I like Batman, but which one should I be reading?
It would be a kind of a daunting. It's like walking into a movie store and having never seen a movie. You're like, well, which one should I go with? I don't know. Should I start with Silence of the Lambs, or should I pick Daddy Daycare 2? Here's Jaws. Go for it.
I was going to say, given those options, there's no choice at all.
Well, Silence of the Lambs, apparently a pretty good movie. I haven't seen the original. Sad thing, I haven't seen the original.
But yeah, I mean, we've talked a lot about the format of comics lately, and if not just continuity, the basic format of serialized comic books certainly is enough sometimes to turn people off. I have to buy this month to month, now we've got trades. But I would venture to say that there may be some people who just don't pay attention and don't understand how trades work. I'd say that there are probably people who have never read comics that wouldn't, because they think that it stays the serialized thing, and that trades are graphic novels, and they're an entirely different thing. You know what I mean? Like I wonder just how good we are at keeping people educated, and then I wonder if we really could educate people, because would they care? You know what I mean? So I'm just asking questions.
With the trades, I think that people would get, I don't know. The trades thing is kind of an issue for me, because
when I was a trade.
When I was collecting...
issues are kind of a trade thing for me.
Didn't-ching. But, so, I forgot where I was going with this.
Sorry, it was funnier in my head.
No, it was funny. It just, anyway.
Trades are an issue for you.
Yeah, trades are an issue for me, because when I'm, trades are a problem for me sometimes. Because when I collected trades, I used to collect trades because I didn't have a comic book store near me. I would forget that things would come out, and I would be looking for it for a while, and I'd say, okay, when's the next Ultimate Spidey coming out? And then I'd be looking for it, and then I forget. And then about a year later, I'm like, oh yeah, I was reading Ultimate Spider-Man. Whereas when you have an issue, you know it's coming out. And so say somebody goes in there and picks up a trade. Well, that may be a problem for them as well.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Because it's part of a series, and now a lot of our trades are going to just be parts of our serialized comic books.
Right, yeah. Well, yeah, a lot of trades are just the collected issues.
So,
which is cool that it's out that way. I'm glad that they're there. I really am.
Yeah.
And there are some things that read better in trade than they do in single issues. Invincible Iron Man is that way. I'm about to drop that book, not because I don't like it, but because I can't keep up with it month to month. It's too talky. I just can't remember everything that's happened.
There's some things that are a lot to take in.
I'm not terribly bored by it. Well, I am, because I'm reading it month to month, but I think if I read 6 issues of it at once, it wouldn't be boring.